I'm back. Hurricane Florence, video 3. I figure it'd be perfect time to go ahead and do another video. I've got all the time in the world on my hands, so I wrote down some things. Some of you fans who support me and that have been there and watched my videos have come up with some things you'd like for me to talk about. And let me go ahead and tease you and let you know the wife is going to do a video, and she's going to do one with me. I've talked about this in the past. I forgot about it. But she wants to do a video with me where pretty much what it was like for her. Because I put her through hell. You know, I put her through hell. So here's some things that were brought to my attention that would like to be discussed. And so I'm going to talk about a few things. And some of this is just coming off the top of the mind because I can't for sure. I'm not planning any of this stuff. This is stuff just remembering things. And that's usually what I do is I just go and just go off what I know and not plan anything. The pink cloud. So I wrote these down. I'd forget. The pink cloud, everyone's known about the pink cloud. If you don't know what the pink cloud is, let me go ahead and inform you. If you've ever met a Christian who's ever been born again, they're excited about their faith, they're super on fire, okay, that's the pink cloud. A kid who's super excited about a new toy or something new that, you know, they're getting or whatever. They get excited. That's the pink cloud. But the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is what I read, I went the AA route. NAAA, to me, in the end of the day, same thing. But nonetheless, when I went down that route and read the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, Bill W. made it clear that you could keep this pink cloud. Like, it was like your feet are on the earth and your hands are scratching at the limitless node of the heavens. I think I might have quoted that verbatim at something, limitless node, I think. But it's the idea of giving away what you were given. It's this continuation of this circular process. It's cyclical. It continues. And that's very important that we give away what we have. This is why I make videos. For those of you who've watched, I mean, I'm not a tech-savvy guy. I have not done all the super enhanced editing things like I plan to do in the future. That takes money to do that. I haven't invested money in this because it's just been like a diary type thing for me. Nonetheless, when you give away what you're given, it feels good. If you've ever done anything good for someone, if you've ever given someone something, it feels good to give. I don't know why. It's just part of us. Anyway, that's that process of the pink cloud. And I remember at a meeting, I had 90-something days clean one time. I said something, I'm on the pink cloud, but you know, that'll go away. And I did like the typical person would. And this old man walked up to me after the meeting, and he looked up to me and he said, hey, Derek, I've been on that pink cloud for 10 years now, son. And I don't plan on ever getting off that cloud. And I looked at him, and he was just copacetic. He was feeling great. He was happy. He was good to go. And I love that about him because, you know, that was something I needed to hear. You don't run out of the pink cloud if you keep giving what you've been getting. And you know, some people, it'll wear out, but ultimately if you give what you've been given, it keeps that excitement going. Anyway, those who don't understand addiction. Okay, so this is tough. You'll see people hate on addicts because drug addicts are self-centered by nature. I mean, we do a lot of things self-centered. And in the process of doing those things, we hurt a lot of people. So it's easy for people to hate us, you know? Well, little do non-addicts usually know, and I say that because they haven't experienced it. Say it wasn't addiction. Let's suppose that we were talking about someone or let's say it's not drug addiction, but let's suppose it's something else. Let's say that they lied or they got caught doing something wrong or whatever. It's not quite the same because obviously there's a mind and body situation that's different with the drug addict, but nonetheless, they judge. They're big on judging, but they don't recognize they have faults too. And I'm not trying to go that route. I'm trying to explain, though, that And I'm going to have my pops from Canada. He's going to get on here, named Caleb. We're going to have him on. We're going to do a video where I'll have him on the phone and he'll be able to explain some things as I discuss with him. It costs money to meet him. He worked for the hospitals for a long time. Now he's working for the legal system up there, trying to better the system they have in Canada. Anyway, it costs a lot of money to go see him, and so the information he gives is valuable, especially with all the years of education. He points out that we don't have all control. In fact, we have very little, if none, at some points. It rewires the thinking in the brain, and so we don't intentionally mean to do things purposefully to try and be evil about it. I've realized that we're not bad people. We're sick people who do bad things. And the reason why we do bad things is because we're sick and we're wanting to feel better. We want something to make us feel normal. And if we don't have the money, well, we find a way to get the money. If we don't have, that may be with stealing, that may be with prostitution, that may be with lying, whatever that may be, it's there. And that it's powerful. It's as strong as being hungry to eat. Imagine not eating food when you're hungry. Very tough to do. All right, it's like that. It's an extreme form of I am starving and I need food. I'll do whatever I can to eat. You know, that's how it feels in the brain. Moving on, and I'll emphasize this stuff more as time goes by. So I think it's important though that I touch on these things, and we can go more into them in time. But I ask that if you're not a drug addict, empathize, because you can't let them run all over you. Of course not. You have to stand your ground. You don't just let them do what they want. This is why me and Kurt have had issues, and Kurt won't come to me. Kurt knows that I have a firm ground, but I'm not judgmental. I love him. I just want what's best for him. And he knows that when he comes around me, he's either going to end up in detox or he's going to end up wanting to go and get clean. But avoid me and you won't have to deal with that. That's why I don't hear from him often as I like to and stuff like that. And just try your best to empathize. All right, moments that I remember, all right, during my recovery that are important. I really, really remember the very beginning. The very beginning was almost like it was biblical. It was on biblical proportions. It seemed like prophetic stuff happened. It was really strange. I left the lady's house after day 4. I ended up going to, okay, first off, the lady cussed at me like I've never had a lady cuss at me and told me to shut the bleep up, okay? So I looked at her like, oh, you pissed me off. So after I got quiet, she told my mom to buy Mike The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. And The Giving Tree is extremely important after I read it, on why that's something interesting that happened. It's a kid's book, right? Well, the next day, that night, my son wanted a color in a book. It was The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. They bought it that morning before they came to see me, before the lady told my mom to buy my dad the Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. So it was like, why is this they bought it that morning, so that's what a coincidence. The day I left her house is the first day that I've ever seen on the front page of the newspaper, October the 28th, 2015, in Fayetteville Observer. I think maybe it wasn't the 20th. Maybe it was a few days after. 4 days, I think it was, when I left her house. And there's a girl on the front page shooting up. And it talked about the heroin epidemic. And the guy who spoke about that in that newspaper article was at the local rehab type place from where I'm at. And so I went and met him. And we became buddies, and I started getting involved in the NA program as well as the AA. I was very active in both groups. It was very important that I stayed active in a group. So I ended up, having that coincidence take place where the day I left her house, there it is on the front page of the newspaper, heroin epidemic. And then there was another funny situation. Me and the wife were doing good for about 18 days. We didn't have one argument. Now, that is rare. When you're using, your relationship is usually dysfunctional, especially if the other one isn't using. Me and the wife were arguing like 18 days in a row. And all of a sudden, I remember we got in an argument because I had a dream that I used. And I told her I was freaking out. I was like, I'm scared. I used in my dream. And she said, "Oh, I fear that too." And I was like, "You fear that? Yeah, right. Okay. Your fear is not as bad as my fear. Okay? My fear, I'm going to die. That's what I'm scared of." And I guess the dream was so powerful that I really was like upset. Like, how can you equate your fear to my fear? Like, I am really going to die from this shit. And you're over here talking about you fear the same fear. No, not the, and that's how I thought. Anyway, I wasn't listening to her. She wasn't listening to me. We were going at. I go in the backyard. I pretty much was like, no, I'm way more bad off than you are. That was my argument over the dream. And we had this blowout argument after 18 days of not having one argument. And I'm outside in the backyard. I had a bonfire going. The wife walked up and she brought me a cup of coffee. And when she handed me the cup of coffee, I was like, "Oh," I said, "Baby, you didn't have to do that." And she goes, "You know what? You're right. You're way more fucked up than I am." And I just laughed. So there were so many moments, epiphanies, and interesting things that happened early on that was so powerful in helping me get clean. And it might have been just the fact that I went cold turkey. I didn't have anything to numb. So my brain was probably triggering things in a way that it wasn't used to seeing the world that way. I mean, my natural chemical in my brain, the natural levels in my brain was starting to come back, slowly healing. It took some time for me to start getting normal again. I mean, I remember after 1 year, I was still like, dude, after 1 year. Now, I wasn't detoxing whatsoever, but I could tell that my thinking and stuff began to change. I was thinking, man, I'm thinking totally different than I used to think. And you can even tell in my videos the way that I am. You guys have seen me evolve and change. Dr. Pepper, y'all need to start paying me. The wife gives me this. I'm not even really a big Dr. Pepper fan. Not that it's bad, but I'll drink a Coca-Cola, though, usually. But that was something, I mean, those are moments. And then you have your moments throughout your recovery. I had a close call at 1 year. I almost relapsed at 1 year. I just wanted to feel better. And the guy, listen to this. This is something I don't think I've ever made a video on. This is important. Very, very important, y'all. At 1 year, I remember the guy, he had Roxy 15s, the pink Roxys. And I said, "Let me get one, man." He said, "All right, no problem." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Let me finish this row up because we're working at work." And he's like, "You sure? You sure you can take one of these and not take any more after this?" Because he knows that I was a drug addict. This is the good thing about me being open and very open about who I am and what I am. I do it at the hospital. I do it everywhere. I'm addicted to opiates, please. I'm a drug addict. I just can't. I still do that to this day. And they'll be like, "Oh, we'll put you on the list. We'll make sure that you don't ever receive that, blah, blah, blah." He looked at me and says, "You can't, can you stop, like, after you take it today?" And I looked at him, and I mean, I'm dead serious, everybody. I looked at him and I said, "Nah. Once I start, I won't stop." And he said, "D, I can't let you do it. I can't let you do it." My honesty with him, the very guy who was going to hand me a pink Roxy, a 15 milligram, my honesty is what kept me from using and staying clean. It is what kept me going. That was at 1 year, guys. So I'm almost 3 years clean, by the way. I haven't had any of those type of situations ever happen again, but my honesty was very important. That's something that you get drilled in, and that brings me to the next point. Complete all the steps. If you go into the rooms of recovery, I totally recommend it. I don't tell you must and that this is the only way. No. There's probably many ways. I just know what worked for me. And if you go to NA, AA, Smart Recovery, whatever, the 12 steps, do all 12 steps, okay? Don't go to the 9th step and stop. Don't go to the 4th step and stop. Trust me. Yes, it sucks. But if you knock it out and you go through, you will feel lighter than a feather. And you will feel like, you know what? I can do this. Because after you've completed the 12 steps, it's just a repetition. It's a consistent, you're just doing the same things, practicing principles that you learned in steps 1 all the way up to 12. You're repeating them. So honesty is one of those steps, one of those being open and honest rigorously. And sure enough, it's what's kept me clean. So I've been honest, and that kept me from relapsing. I went through step 4, I think twice, 2 different times. I got clean off Opanas, and I was clean for 2 years, and then I relapsed because I'm an alcoholic as well. I know I don't talk about that much on this program here, but I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict. So anyone who's watching this that might be an alcoholic, trust me, I am both. I was actually drinking communion at the church that I was attending at the time, and that was real wine. And I said, hey, Jesus drank wine. I'm at church. The church drinks wine. I'm going to bring some bottles home. I brought some bottles of wine home. Eventually, you're like, hey, I'm a grown man. So I went and bought some liquor or whatever. And sure enough, I'm drinking. And then it was a long spiral past. Me and the wife would separate and fight and on and on and on. I moved to Washington State. I did some illegal shit while I was drunk. And I regret everything I've ever done in terms of that, but it also has brought me to where I am, so I'm thankful for it, if that makes sense. Of course, I wouldn't want to have a record, but I can't control that when I was drunk at a customer's house, I did something really stupid, and that I would have never done if I wasn't on a substance. And that's so far what I have here, what I have written down to go over in this video. Now, I am going to do a video with the wife and let her explain to you, kind of what it was like for her. I know for me, I was just, every day I had to manipulate her. I had to find a way to get money out of her. And it just sucks because she loved me. She still loves me so much, and how she stuck with me that whole time is just, I don't know. You really have to love someone to put up with them this long and to do the things that we've done and to each other, So, that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please check out my next video. Also, subscribe if you will. Check out in the description. I'm gonna put my my Patreon account, also my PayPal. If you guys want to help contribute, I'm always trying to build this thing up. The more I can get in contributions, it'll help me focus on this. Who knows, I can make this full-time if the money's there. But my goal is to continue working with drug addicts. And reach out to me on Facebook. I'm putting my Facebook link. I'm putting my Instagram link below. The Patreon account, the PayPal. And there is another app that's like a free, if you ever want to transfer funds to me, you can use it. It's pretty simple. So options are there. Check them out. And I'll be seeing you guys here soon. Plan on doing some live videos on YouTube as well. But next video will hopefully be with the wife, if not with my pops from Canada. Hopefully. If not, I'll just do another video because the storm is still here. All right, y'all. Hey, check back with me, and I look forward to next time.